Okay, guys, when you get a oil leak on a Supercharged Q7, be careful. In this case, this is the oil filter housing leaking. I mean, sometimes you see it could be that, it could be the oil filter housing. So if you see oil coming from around the tranny bell housing, it might be the oil filter housing there. So in this case, I'm gonna replace it, and you gotta remove the supercharger for that. So be careful. Yeah. First thing you got to do the belt. You got to remove the belt from there. There's a 16mm bolt on the tensioner. You could get it with a half-inch or half-inch ratchet, and just lay the belt on the side there, but don't remove it completely. And then those coolant pipes, remove it, and the bolt there holding the coolant pipes, those are where the hoses goes. Remove those coolant hoses, and the bolt that I just showed you. Okay. And then those sensors gotta be, unplug those sensors. That way when you lift the supercharger, we don't break the harnesses. And then you got the 6 13mm nuts, okay? You gotta remove all of them, 13mm. And then get to the connectors, that connector right there to the throttle body, that hose to the N80 valve. And those plugs gotta be disconnected. Notice how I marked them? Okay, one thing, that's what I'm trying to say, mark them. And mark everything, vacuum hoses, connectors, and all that. That way you go back the same way, okay? As you could see the marks on the vacuum pipes, each of them, okay? Make your mark so you don't be confused. That's 1, 2, and 3, okay? Okay, those are the vacuum, that's where they go, to the solenoids. Notice the connectors in the back. Don't forget your N80 connector. Before you lift in the supercharger, you gotta unplug all that, okay? And what else? And then you gotta put racks on those hooks there, racks, and have another technician help you lift it like evenly, okay? That way you don't break your back. All right, guys, next I'm gonna remove the oil pressure switch. You gotta press on the top and disconnect the oil pressure switch right here. So there's a top here on the side. You gotta press just like this one. Let me give you an example like this one. You gotta get in here, push, or get around here with a 90-degree angle pick, and get the switch disconnected right there. And now I cut a wrench from the previous job, and I'll see if I could get in there and remove the switch, because there's a couple of triple square bolts like this one right here that we gotta remove, and the one underneath the switch you won't be able to take out with the switch in the way, or it will be too hard. And then you got a 10 here. Let me see if I can see it. There's a 10 there holding the oil filter housing. Let's see if I can show you with the light. See, and it's right there, that 10, that there's a stud there that is bolted to the engine, and all you're doing is removing the nut there, and then you got to slide the oil cooler out, okay? I'll show you later when I take the oil cooler out, the oil filter housing out, and then I'll show you every bolts that you got to remove to slide it out. I'm gonna try to remove the housing without removing this pipe. I'm gonna see. If not, I'll let you guys know if we gotta remove this pipe, okay? Now I'm gonna remove the connector for the switch and the switch for now, and see how it goes. See, that's how I got it. So I went like, for example, like this one, I got in here and push that tab that is here, and that's how I got it, okay? So now I gotta get the switch here. That's a 24mm. So hopefully I could get it with this guy. So I got that little stubby 22 there. Now let me see with the pipe. There you go, guys. It's not loose. Now that switch is loose. You see it moving? See it move? Switch loose. So that's it. So guys, run a tip. Say 24 short. About, let me see, 1, 2, 3.5 inches, and you could get to that switch, okay? And then use a pipe. As you can see, I removed this bolt here, but it won't let me take it out because of this pipe. These pipes are brittle and easy to break, so I don't want to break it. So I'm gonna get this pipe. I'm gonna get a more from the secondary air combi valve on the left side. I mean, this will be, yeah, my left side. And then on this side, I'm not gonna touch it. So you leave it connected on this side, you're gonna disconnect it from this side. Okay, it's 2 T30s, and it's bolted to the combi valve. But I gotta get this bracket off first, so I'm gonna lose these 2 connectors and get this bracket over here with a T30 right here on the side. So I'm gonna lube these things here, so you can slide these 2 connectors off. And then get this bracket over the 230 there, because I gotta get this pipe out from here. Okay, so I'm gonna get this off from here, so just I can lay it on the side, because I'm not gonna disconnect it from this side, remember, just from this side and this side. Okay, see, pipe connected there. See it here, you got 1, and then 1 on the other side where I got the 2. See that 2 there? Those are T30s, all right? The pipe is connected to the combi valve. This pipe, okay? I'm removing it right now with a long extension. See that? Right out. For the bolts. To grab a magnet and get those bolts out. And this is how you're gonna grab the 2 T30s on the combi valve. Grab them with a magnet, and then with the Torx, just spin it out like that. That way you don't drop it behind the engine. And sometimes you won't find it, or give you a tough time to find them. So that's how I do it. Guys, the last one was this 10mm right here. You see, this bracket is in the way. This bracket is in the way. The whole disconnectors. So what I did was, I'll show you. I use a pry bar. And I lean against the oil filter housing since I'm changing it anyway. And I bend the bracket away like that. Okay, so I could have access to the 10 right here. So this 10, see that? I mean, you're gonna replace this anyway, so you could put the pry bar against it and bend that bracket away from the 10mm bolt, which you could get with a wrench. In this case I use a gear wrench, but you could get it. Okay, that will give you access to remove the bolt out. Okay guys, let me show you the way you should look for you to be able to remove that housing out. Okay, as you can see, the pipe, I just took it out from there, from one side, but now the other side, see, it's still hooked up on this side. Okay, that bracket, I never removed it. See, it's still there. I just pushed down the switch so I could get to those bolts that's holding this pipe. Okay, see the bracket? This is the bracket I was mentioning. See, I bend it away so I could get to the 10mm bolt here. Okay, and this is the stud. This is what you're gonna slide the housing into. Okay, that's the guide, and that's it. That's the way you should look. Okay, the pipe on the side, that's the way you should look. Okay, as you can see, by unbolting this pipe, this bent pipe from the combi valve, I was able to move it away from the housing, and I was able to have access to remove the bolts, slide the bolts out. Okay, that's the way you should look if you're gonna be fine to remove that housing. Okay, see all the oil sitting there? Well, it's more now because I removed it, but when you get oil underneath the car, like coming from around the transmission bell housing, be careful. It might be just the oil filter housing on the top, okay? So be careful there, okay? Now, I'm gonna show you. See the housing? He has one bolt here like this. Then this one here. And then there's that stud. Show you again. Here. This is when you slide this thing and then you put this thing in, okay? Or your pressure switch, you gotta remove it. One thing, when you go back with a new one, don't put the switch yet. Install the housing, then put the switch, okay? And when it comes to the tools, you're gonna need wrenches. You're gonna need a 10mm wrench. And that little 8 that I cut, where is it? Let me show you. This 24 that I cut, okay? To remove the switch, okay? So you're gonna need a 24, the 10. The ratchet, you're gonna need a 1/4 inch, okay? And you're gonna need an extension, 1/4 inch, just normal size. T30, T20, and a triple square 8. A magnet, tire pressure tool, the valve stem tool, because I lower the car because I'm 5'7", guys. I'm not that tall, so see the car is sitting lower. I could get to everything easier. See, I could reach it better. Okay, and of course you're gonna need a flashlight. And to remove the intake, the supercharger here, I use a drill with a 13mm socket. If not, you could just use a regular ratchet. And to remove the serpentine belt, I use a 16mm, 1/2 inch, and a 1/2 inch swivel ratchet. I mean, you could use a regular one, it don't matter, to get the belt off from here, from the tensioner here, okay? It's sitting right here, you'll see it. And you see how I left the belt there intact? So I could just snap it to the supercharger. Guys, and that's that. Just be careful, know what you're doing. Follow your reverse order. Don't forget again, this guy, put a new one in, okay? That piece here, let me show you. This right here, oops, this right here, you're gonna put it here first, okay? Here first, and then you drop the supercharger, okay? And make sure you put a new one, okay? Other than that, guys, follow your reverse order. First, you want to start with the housing, okay? And then you're gonna put your oil pressure switch, and then you get this pipe along with whatever you remove from here, okay? Then put this guy, okay? This guy, and then drop the supercharger, okay? And put all the 13mm nuts here, torque them to 20 Nm, and that's that, guys. Okay, place oil filter housing over. Notice how I remove the cup where the filter goes on the top. That you could go with I think 32mm. You could remove the cup. That will give me better access to the rear bolts. I mean, we don't need that in the way for now. See how I slide it in there in the stud that I mentioned before? Now we can start putting the bolts in. Okay, just giving it the final touches before I drop the supercharger, making sure all the lines are connected. Notice on the oil filter housing, I removed the filter cup there, so I have better access to the rear bolts. Let's go ahead and remove those seals before we drop the supercharger. We're getting new ones anyway. Guys, recommend you to put new ones. It's a big job, but it's not worth the risk. Okay, take them all off. Okay, now get new ones and put them all in, just like that. Make sure they sit flush. You could tap them with a rubber mallet, gently though. Make sure they're all sitting nice and even. Yeah, that's the little union there. You're gonna install it there first on the engine. Make sure you go in snugly, straight, and then you're gonna lube it. Lube whatever you have, WD-40, whatever. In this case, I'm using grease. So make sure it's just flush, lube it, and then place that little cover over it. So the little cover there over it. Once you grease it, okay. Because we're gonna drop the supercharger now. Okay, now it's time to drop the supercharger on it. Okay, now let's go ahead, drop the intake. Make sure you don't kink the lines. Those are the racks that you use to drop it and lift it, okay? That way you don't break your back, okay? And then place the 6 30 millimeter nuts over the studs, okay? Okay, let's torque those nuts to 20 millimeters using a torque wrench. Okay, you could go middle, and then do X on the other 4, and it should be just fine. Okay, guys, like and subscribe.